Hello, welcome to another video. I'm gonna show you or give you a tour of RMS Olympic, Titanic's sister ship. If you don't know what sister ship means, it's like where like two ships are exactly the same. So yeah, of course you can tell by the four funnels that it looks similar. We're on the first class boat deck here. This is Olympic in June 1911. Uh, of course, you got the four big funnels here with smoke coming out of them. Of course, here we have the lifeboats, and now we're on the the engineer's promenade with more lifeboats over here and an area to go down. And in here, this is where they controlled the ship here. And in the back, they had another control room right here. Of course, exactly the same to the Titanic. Except I don't think it curved like this. Of course, it's exactly the same on the other side. Here, of course, in first class, they tried to give you the best view of the ocean possible. That's why there's not many lifeboats here. Of course, if you go up here, this is mainly for crew. Up here is where the compass was. Of course, it's elevated between the two funnels, so magnetic fields don't mess up the compass and they get lost. Back here is the engineer's promenade. And here would be the second class promenade here. Of course, it is full of lifeboats and it obstructs the view of the ocean. Except right here, basically. Of course, here we got the area. Of course, it's exactly the same on the other side here. And here's another area up here. More elevated view of the ocean, however, it's still blocked a bit by lifeboats. I'll get to the stern tour in just a second. I'm gonna take a tour on the first class amenities here. Of course, in here we got the grand staircase, the most famous room on Olympic and Titanic, and her sister ship, Britannic, that never got to be a passenger ship. Of course, with a nice dome that tops everything, literally. And a nice statue here. I think they actually, like, recovered this from the Titanic wreck. Of course, you got a nice, area here. Back here you got elevators. The elevators are, decent for their time. You got a nice, sitting area in here. Of course, it's first class. You gotta have a sitting area. And here's a open promenade on the deck. What deck is this? Forgot. Oh yeah, A deck. This is A deck, and actually on Titanic, it wasn't fully open like this. It was actually enclosed, I believe, in the front and a little bit in the back. So yeah, it's like the only difference between Olympic and Titanic. I'll get to the promenade in just a little bit. We're on E deck. There's not that much, but this would lead to passenger rooms here. Of course, it's nice. And this leads down to another deck down here. Of course, in here, you got the inquiry office, and you got the cloakroom, where they would store jackets. And here is the lounge room. It's nice. You can enjoy tea, for example, with your friends. Here, you got elevators here. And this area would be where people would board the ship, I believe. And in here, you got the nice dining room. Of course, it's exactly the same to the Titanic's in every way. This was the most popular dining saloon on Titanic and Olympic, and well, I can't count Britannic because she never got to be a passenger ship. Britannic also sunk. Maybe I'll do a tour on Britannic as a passenger ship. I don't know. Of course, on E deck, this is where you would go to the Olympic areas, and then you got the Turkish baths down here. It's nice. It's kind of like a sauna. And then you got the more saunas in here, and the steam room and hot room. It was like this. This is this first class swimming pool. Yeah, it might not seem that fancy, but it was very insane for its time. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Of course, you got here some showers and some changing rooms here. Yeah. Yeah, it was, you got more in here. More shower stuff in here, and some toilets. I mean, you got some urinals here. And back here, this is where the electric baths were. I'm not gonna get into that because I don't know much about the electric baths on Olympic or Titanic. Actually, I think these were removed in later refits of Olympic, because Olympic was the only one not to sink. I'm going up, and I'll go into the promenade here. Okay, this is a pretty nice open promenade. I believe this was open to first and second class passengers. Check me if I'm wrong, in the comments. Of course, up here you would go up to the boat deck right there. And in here, we got the aft grand staircase, which is a room that many people don't know about. Of course, it's exactly the same, except it's got a smaller clock, and it didn't go down that far. Only like 2 decks, like this, that bottom of it. Of course, you got a barber shop down here, and this, I believe, would be the ladies' hairdresser, or that was a thing later added on Olympic in the 1930s. And then you got the smoke room. I know this is a dining area, because you got a little bar here. You can get a nice piano. And you got some tables. Yeah, it was pretty nice, people said. I don't know what that is. Must have been really nice. Of course, first class passengers were allowed mostly in a lot of parts of the ship, but not every single one. Yeah, it's called the poop deck. I still don't know why. Got some nice benches on the back here. Of course, there's a lot of equipment. This is where they would control the ship in the back. It was just like when they were like docking, you know, in like a port. And of course, you got a lot of ballards. And well, that concludes the first class amenities on the Olympic. Next video will be the second class.